Bravo, cosa dici sindaco? Io continuo a chiamarti sindaco perché abbiamo con noi anche un amico. Bene, riprendiamo. We start again with moving to new topics and new provocation. Yesterday we had here the meeting of Comet, our partners, introduction of the team. Starting from the ladies, sorry for my mistake. Ladies, introduce yourself. Cinzia.
Cinzia Completa, I'm a practice manager in McKinsey and I'm responsible for McKinsey of the Lead Experience Factory. That is basically a capability building center where we use to train.
Il microfono, se no non ti registriamo.
Which one? Sorry. Okay. No.
On introduction.
Yes. And basically now this center is training participants and people on digital transformations.
Mr. Sottino.
Good morning to everyone. Marco Sottino. I'm a teacher of University of Udine of Manufacturing and Technology and also director of the LAMA FG, which is a laboratory for advanced mechatronics, which is a project of the 3 universities of our region.
Michele Cisco.
Michele Almazzoni, Cisco. Good morning, everybody. I'm responsible for collaboration architecture for Southern Europe, Cisco system, and for Industry 4.0 initiative here in Italy.
Pierpaolo, Europe, sei tu.
I work in good morning, everybody. I work, Pierpaolo Boccadamo, I work in Microsoft with expanded responsibility among Italy and Europe. And I'm working inside the innovation team, and I'm responsible specifically for new software companies, new startups, and every company could be a software company. That's key in our conversation in my opinion today.
Everybody will be digital. We will have later a connection with Politecnico di Milano, Marco Taisch, that is a friend of ours. It's peculiar that everybody talking about innovation, Industry 4.0, we are few and we are always the same. Cisco is all over, Sortino is all over. But despite of being always the same, thinking that the digital revolution is extremely important, I want to bring a topic. That is the following. Yesterday, I presented you the president of Cluster Comet. And I said, hey, this guy, the president of Cluster Comet, is representing our customers because he's having 400, you remember the person that came yesterday? And then I was jumping from this table to the other table where we were discussing about strategic lines for more or less in smart specialization strategy and the pathway to go to the objective. And I had a bad dream tonight because I realized the discrepancies between me and Professor Sortino. That is a friend of mine. I said, why Professor Sortino is moving step by step into the digital transformation. I said yesterday that Polo and my policy is to help strong companies to become winners. And we don't have resources to accompany lazy or obsolete guys. You told me to be patient. Up to you.
Thank you very much for. I'm sorry about your last night. I didn't want it. It's not my fault.
Maybe it was the good dinner that we had.
All right. Yes. Say all this thinking about Industry 4.0 is of extreme importance. But the truth to be said, our environment, especially SMEs, need some guidance in order to be fully aware of what are the possibilities, how to get to the position. So this is my point of view. And also, that's why yesterday's discussion was about how to put, let's say, in the strategic guidelines, to put objective targets in the near future or in a, let's say, in a wider perspective. So this is the main problem at the moment. So to develop in our region competencies and train, also educate the companies, especially the SMEs.
I'm not sure how I will sleep tonight, but I will have a light dinner. Anyhow, you stay in the region, and we have Cisco, you are all over, right? Do you think that, in example, ABS, do you know ABS? ABS, raise your hand. Thank you very much for being here. Your turnover, not ABS, the group is 4 billion now. They is a small company in heavy mechanical industry, 4 billion euros turnover. And it is, thank you very much for being here, is an important presence. Let me recap. Yesterday we were discussing strategically if we have to address to SMEs only or also big companies. And then we agreed that we need both, because you can work by yourself, but you need our help to avoid to stay alone, because at the end you look in the back and say, I need a value chain where they are. So if we don't work together, nothing will happen. They have resources to move by themselves, but we will work in this way. So we can move calm, or we must be in a hurry. What's your point of view?
So it depends, because survive is not mandatory. So it depends what is your plan for the future. Now, I think that really also taking advantage by the introduction of Elio Catania before. So this is the year for Italy in particular. Now the Calenda plan that has been mentioned is going to provide a huge fiscal advantage for the companies that are going to invest this year, not in the future. So this is the year for the investment, and so what we see after, let's say, 1 year of assessment of the Italian manufacturing sector is the foundation of the digitization have to be made ready, because basically what's happening in the last years has been, of course, the automation of the manufacturing industry and the digitization. But how happens the digitization? Mainly by specific need that leads at the end to a patchwork of infrastructure network. So theoretically, companies are almost ready, but at the end, the reality, the data are not available. It's very difficult to access the data. Okay? And it's very difficult to access the data exactly because this fragmentation of the network. So first of all, start assessing your network, understanding if it's ready, okay, for this digitization. Because about the question you referred before, of course, it's a matter of revolution or evolution, but in any case, you have to move forward. So, to move forward with the revolution, you need to be ready to change your business model, and it is huge. And I understand that not everybody can be ready to understand the impact of the digitization on your own business. It's difficult. It's a very high level and strategic position. But at least you have to take advantage by the huge operational improvement you can have with the digitization. So do more with less. Okay, even if you are not ready to understand this rush. And last thing is that, in any case, also in manufacturing, a disruption is happening right now. It is the change from a traditional business where manufacturing was 100% focused on producing product and selling product, to becoming a product plus services company. Okay, and it's a completely different business model, and it is happening now. So every company in manufacturing have to be focused on this transition. Otherwise, you are losing your edge now. And it is possible. How is possible? It's possible to the connected product. If your product can be connected, you can transform your traditional business in a service model business, because you can start selling services, doing upsell of your product, cross-selling of your product. You can increase your margin, you can change your turnover, and moving from let's say one time, one shot, selling to recurring revenue based on the long-term contract. So it's a really different way. And at the end, the impact is on the productivity and on the return on capital. So, having said that, take your decision. You can wait and see, or you can start moving on.
Definitely, thank you very much. Polo Tecnologico, and I hope we partners of BIFOCAlps, we do not allow our friends to wait and see, because we will not see them any longer. We will not see any longer what Catania told us in terms of numbers. 80% of the companies that failed didn't have a website. So there is today a connection between non-digitalization, even if very simple digitalization, and non-competitive stay on the market. You are a lady, but you have a brand. No. She has a brand of strategy, so we keep her at last because Marco is a knowledge. He is a black box with hair inside, nothing inside the Cisco apparatus. At least you sell software. From a European point of view, Industry 4.0, revolution. Remember us, the rank. Who is the best? You know it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, frankly speaking, we need to focus about the fact that many countries have different ecosystems, so different manufacturing ecosystems. In Europe, fundamentally, we have a couple of countries historically that were very strong from both market share and both the capability to express optimization and operational excellence. There were Germany from the side, and the second historical country was Italy. So when we look at Europe from a manufacturing perspective, except for some specific, let's say, spot of excellence that we have around Europe look at Germany and Italy. And obviously Italy represents the small and medium market. So small and medium market enterprises, manufacturing sites, etc. That for discrete processing, as in many cases also for discrete manufacturing, and in many cases also for process manufacturing, the small and medium business represent one of the most critical area to accelerate, just to be with you about that, while performing, because we think that we need to transform while perform. That's fundamental trade-off that you need to do. And why discrete, for example, manufacturing is key? Because the supply chain, the modern supply chain is fundamentally made in a different way. It's a lot of different small actors around the world that integrates, but they must to answer very quickly to the customer feedback, to the product that go to the market, and immediately they have to fine-tune, modify, and go to market again. So to have this interaction, to have this networking, that it's not only inside the different components of a manufacturing company, but it's also outside, you need the digital transformation. Without the digital transformation, obviously, you will be out of competitiveness. And in Europe, the game is yet there. Obviously, the investments that some countries are producing for its own ecosystem are a differentiator. And as a consequence, there is also private investments that land in a different amount in the different countries in Europe, and that's an issue for Italy. Just to give you an idea, the private investment in Italy 1 year ago was around, venture capital, just to give you a sense, around 150 million euros. France, that is exactly just a step ahead of Italy, had around 1 billion and a half.
Don't say, I remember it.
Yeah, it's 1 billion and a half and so on. So it's very important that we transform, leveraging the digital transformation, and possibly integrating all the different components inside the company, but thinking also about the fact that the customer looks to an experience. So we need to be in touch with the customer, we need to be in touch with the other providers, with the other companies, and that's typical for what Microsoft is. R&D must be in touch with the response of the customers. So currently I would say that Italy is the last in Europe, or there is a first in Europe. We are yet on time, but we need to keep focus and to execute very well since this year. And we think that an initiative like the app, the digital app, and the Polo in Pordenone are the right way to share practices, doing open innovation through networking among the different companies.
Thank you. Keep in mind that Cisco, Microsoft, University, and McKinsey, they are partners of the Lean experience that we did yesterday. So it is an example available to copy, to improve, to transfer, to utilize or to use it. We had a discussion yesterday with Cinzia, and my question now is the following. When we discuss, and I propose something for this afternoon or tomorrow, she said, of course, you are the oldest guy in the room, so you are in a hurry. And it is totally correct. I am in a hurry. Will we, Italian, the region, will we recover or not? And I come up with something that we discussed yesterday. And I disagree partially with you. But when I made a joke with friends, I said, but will you support the investment for a company that making a project to have an automatic warehouse? Will you judge positively? And it was my joke. But he said, yes, why not? What do you think?
That's a really interesting question. I would say definitely we are in a hurry, and also all the numbers mentioned before by Mr. Catania and also by you show that we have in front of us great opportunity, I would say. And so I think the most tricky thing is the cultural change. So what the companies, our entrepreneur, and also all the management in the company needs really to make this cultural change in order to understand what are, I would say, the key value drivers and which are basically the business case behind all the digital implementation that is possible to do. And so, coming to your question, it really will depend on how, after this, I would say, awareness about phase now about the digital 4.0, how will be the speed in making really changing the behavior of the entrepreneur to be more, I would say, embracing risk and also willing to change, and that means really starting a transformation.
And that's why I would say we also at McKinsey invest a lot in the digital capability centers, where the entrepreneur can touch and feel what does it mean making some changes, and not only in terms of, I would say, implementation, digital implementation, so hardware, but even in the software. In the software, that means the capabilities of the people. So how an operator can really change the way of behave and be the real component and talent in the company.
Thank you, Chief. But my question, will you invest for an automatic warehouse?
Of course, the answer is only, it depends. No, as a consultant, I cannot answer it differently. No,
we will boost the value chain. No warehouse. Stop. No democracy. We are facing, I'm not joking, we are facing a revolution, not a transition. And revolution leaves back somebody dead. This is a war.
That's why.
And we do hope we will not have too many in alpine space through our objectives. But we don't have energies to subsidize. We don't have energy to subsidize. Yesterday I was discussing about why I do not help weak companies. Question of limited energies. If they stand up and open to help to move fast, but reaction, leave it out, too difficult. Because now we have online Marco. Marco, are you listening us?
No.
Marco Taish from Politecnico di Milano. All of us, we know him, right? Isto, ciao! Benvenuto! We have Polo di Lubiana, grazie di essere con noi. Hai perso una cena molto buona ieri, avevi da fare, grazie di essere con noi. Intanto che ci colleghiamo, Cinzia, another question, a little bit more difficult. We are on the fourth revolution, right? We know it. And we are also in the era of exponential technologies. Can you give us, from a strategic point of view, if we had more than 100 years to make the first industrial revolution, how long time will be allowed to us for the fourth revolution? Tricky question.
Tricky question. I would say definitely not the 100 years of the first one. So the pace, and you know, based also on the technology cost reduction and availability, is increasing exponentially. So say even months or days. So that's the really key message. So the company needs to start now, maybe with some pilot, with some start and training, make mistakes, learn, and then fast movies. But that's time now to execution and speed. So I will again remark the words that Mr. Catania said. So
thank you. This is something that we should think about in our project. The speed is extremely changed. Not only the technology, but today the availability of the technology is different. Florian, you have perfectly in mind the difference between Deep Blue and Watson.
I will give you the answer afterwards.
Okay.
Afterwards.
I understand from your eyes that you have been playing. I'm a nasty guy, you realize, okay? We have it? Dobbiamo comprare una piattaforma di Cisco, non funziona niente, o di Microsoft.
Usare la tecnologia giusta nel modo giusto, no? Cioè qua...
Il nostro è un vecchio Skype a pedali.
Ragazzi, parliamo di digitalizzazione. Siamo qua.
Sono loro che ci guardano.
dirvelo prima potevamo fare addirittura la posizione simultanea.
Sì, adesso
Attaccavamo Skype mentre il Presidente parlava sul video, avevo visto tradotto in inglese tutto quello che diceva. Ed è sempre lo Skype, però il problema è che
nessuno è fatto nel nuovo
Hai visto quello portatile?
sì.
Marco?
No, buongiorno, sono Sergio Terzi.
Ah, un sostituto.
Sì.
Vabbè, sei più barbuto, sono Franco Scolari, ciao.
Non ti può vedere perché...
Ah, non mi puoi neanche... Mi puoi sentire?
Vede me, non sono... Tecnologia...
È un casino qua, è un casino. Senti, abbiamo bisogno non solo della tua vision, abbiamo avuto, così abbiamo avuto Elio Catania che ci ha detto che possiamo prendercela comoda perché o facciamo la rivoluzione 4.0 oggi pomeriggio o perdiamo il treno. Abbiamo un esperto di Microsoft Europa che dice il cielo non è azure, è tutto nero, se non alzi il culo è un disastro. Which is the point of view of Politecnico di Milano?
Okay, I guess that if I'm not wrong, I should talk in English, right?
No, it is a must because we have more or less 30 persons listening, of which more than 50% are only English speaking. So English is our language.
Okay, got it. And if you want to have a quick presentation, if you want to share the screen, if possible. I don't know.
Don't stress us with technology. You have 10 minutes to tell us how is moving Digital Innovation Hub, what is Center of Competence, how you, as Politecnico di Milano, will integrate, support the Industry 4.0 and our project.
Okay, briefly. Well, good morning to everybody. Sorry, I don't know who is on the other side, but my name is Sergio Terzi. I'm professor here at Politecnico di Milano, the School of Management. I'm working with Marco Taish in several research and industrial projects since a long time. Marco was not able to be with you for some family issues. So, I mean, you are asking me several questions, and we'll try to answer from what I know, and in the proper order possible. At first, here in Politecnico, we are used to work in European projects since a long time. We have currently, in my group, 12 European projects running. I'm coordinating 4 of them. So I know quite well the context in which today, from yesterday, if I'm wrong, you're entering, and I fully believe that it will be an interesting experience for each of you. I mean, you are asking me not what is Industry 4.0, obviously it's not up to me to present. I know that many others already said interesting stuff. What I can tell you is, from one side, quickly an Italian situation. In the last 3 years, we have collected a lot of information about industrial practices in terms of how Industry 4.0 is adopted and in some ways diffused in Italy. And we are used to say that we are in front of a kind of dichotomy, in the sense that we have some situations, some experience from SMEs as well as from big industries that they have already invested a lot, and they are a kind of, how to say, forerunners of Industry 4.0, not only in Italy but also in Europe, I mean. And we have several of them, we have registered, and also we are collaborating with them. Said this, it must be said that the vast majority of the Italian companies, that as you know, 95% is composed by SMEs, is still trying to understand what we are dealing with. In a survey that we did last summer, more than 40% of Italian companies, they don't know what we are talking about when we talk about Industry 4.0. This must be said. So it's a kind of dichotomy that we have in our market. And it's why, from our point of view, for trying to fill the gaps that we have in our society, we should invest as much as we can in making a proper awareness among ourselves and with our companies. And it is why when the Ministry of Development was asking us to contribute to the national plan, we're proposing as much as we can, and I guess that we succeed, that one of the main elements should be to create proper awareness, to and develop and to define possible, supporting spots that would be useful to disseminate the idea and the experience of Industry 4.0. Here comes the idea of Digital Innovation Hub or Competence Centers that you were asking. I mean, it is not our idea in the strict sense, obviously. It's something that has been derived by, as you know, by European Commission, that since a long time, at least since some years, is promoting the creation of also physical spaces for disseminating the evolution of digital revolution, the diffusion of digital revolution. And from our side, we've been in some way already nominated to be one competence center in our national plan. And we are working on that. We are in Polytechnical, we have already several facilities in place, but in our mind, the competence center should be something, let's say, with a wider perspective. I know that there you have some very interesting initiatives. We are working, we did already something similar, let's say, where the idea that all the hubs that we already have in place, all the facilities, all the solutions that we have already in place in Italy should be part of a wider network to be open to our companies, to explain them how Industry 4.0 can be useful to them. The technologies as well, how the human side of this kind of industrial revolution should be properly considered. So in Polytechnical, we are working on that. We have technical facilities on that. We are installing, just in these days, a new one that will be fully concentrated on digital manufacturing, even if we have already other places around us. And all of these elements will be some part of the competence center that will be asked in some way to create during the next year. So this was about your question. Probably there are many other information that should be shared, but I don't know for the time if it's the proper role for the time being. Said this, it might be said that being Italy composed by many SMEs, that, as I said, most of them, the majority of them, they don't know more or less nothing about what we are talking about. Awareness should pass also from other two actions. One is generally training and education. From our side, we are investing a lot on this at all the different levels of our school, from the Master of Science as well to our MBA, as well to our executive program. I mean, I'm here presenting some way. I'm not there, but I'm here in Skype. I mean, since I'm the director of our executive education, and we have already in place a kind of master in Industry 4.0 that will be it has been launched and this will be executed the next year, and it will be the main target will be executives. I mean, first involved in companies with executive responsibilities. I mean, so as I said, competence center, physical space, training and education at all the level. A third element is that for creating awareness, I guess that as engineers we are used to say, you cannot improve what you measure. What you don't know, you don't measure. Let's say. So it is why in the last year we have invested in several assessment models and methods that we have already widely applied for the 400 companies. we have developed this assessment method. Now we have developed a new assessment method that will be in some way available in the next month, also for free in some way to companies. And our plan is to use assessment method for giving the idea to companies, in particular SMEs, to at which level they are in the Industry 4.0 journey. These have been already published, these have been already widely used. We are working now on a simplified method that will be available in the next 2-3 months and will be made available to, let's say, to the global, not to the global market, I mean to a wider market of the industrial companies. So these are some actions that we're doing. Our group is more or less a group of 50 persons. We are 4 professors and 45 persons that are working with us in project. Most of them are European project as well as national project. So I cannot recap all what we are doing as 50 persons in 6 minutes. That was the time that I took, but I guess that that's the way for giving you a first glance of what we are doing. And I guess that in the project that starting these days, maybe there is some way opportunities for each of us to share the knowledge that we develop together, and to share it, to work together on that.
Thank you very much. In fact, the purpose of the invitation, I'm again Franco Scolari. I am a fellow of Politecnico di Milano. I started a little bit earlier than you, but my daughter follow you, so several generations of engineers at Polytechnic. You concluded with hoping, you said, sharing our experiences and sharing our data. And this was in effect the purpose of my invitation to Marco and to Politecnico, because as we said before, we are not leading in Europe the digital transformation. This has been confirmed at the beginning by Mr. Catania. We know that we have more opportunities because we can share other experiences and because we have to recover some lost time. We mentioned the opportunities in Italy for hyper depreciation. The companies that will invest in digital transformation for 2017 and 18, they can depreciate at 250% the investment. So this is really a gift coming from the government, recognizing that we are late, but with this kickoff of investment, I use the word kickoff because our project, BIFOCAlps, has today the kickoff, and it is Primoz. How many projects started before the hour?
How many projects?
Projects started already, because I wanted to be one of the first. Are we or not?
You are one of the first, yes.
Okay.
Especially on this topic, yeah, but I think there were like 4 projects submitted in the portal that are dealing with the topic of smart manufacturing and factory.
But we have to boost.
Yes.
we have to boost. Thank you very much, Politecnico. Suppose I will be in Milano. Shall I pay you a visit?
Okay, yeah, that will be, it will be our guest.
And Marco wants to pay a visit to our Lean Experience Digital Transformation. So you, not 50, but maybe 2 or 3 guys, come and have a look, because it's a touchable experience. This is our Christmas gift. The line dropped down. No Christmas gift. I was thinking, not nice, it was not reacting to the gift. Okay, thank you. Switching off. He has a very nasty attitude. Okay, don't call him again. We have 5 minutes more to recap. To recap. Ciao, come stai? Crypto science. Va bene come presentation?
Thank you.
Easter. In terms of digital transformation, Slovenia is better than our region or not?
No, I suppose that we are at the same level. So we are talking about 40% of those that even don't know that digital transformation is happening. Probably if you are looking at the bigger companies, yes, they are aware, but if you're looking at the smaller and maybe those producers are, so we should work on awareness raising and delivering the knowledge about and to showing some good cases and experience. And maybe also this was a good case to give some tax incentives for the investment in this sector.
Thank you. Eventually, introduce yourself because...
Sorry, Mr. Kresiak, I'm coming from the Ljana Technology Park. We are not far away, 2 hours, if there is not a genuine highway.
You are 30 minutes in advance solar time, right?
Probably.
So if we rush, we can recover our time. So we are in a hurry. Do we have questions? Do we want support from the leading companies we have sitting here? You have ideas? Frau Nofer, you have something to ask to McKinsey, to Cisco? Some apparatus free of charge in example. BIFOCAlps, can I have free access of your software as a startup?
Yeah, you can have access on to Azure. So the entire set of services and resources is on Azure. As a startup, you will be granted at least a couple of years, 60 up to $120K. That it's a massive amount from a public cloud perspective. And you can leverage machine learning, you can leverage servers, of course, storage, whatever kind of platform you need.
Microphone, we have to register this because repeat.
So, as a startup,
financial manager, take
yes,
notes, please.
As a startup, Microsoft grant an important amount of Azure resources. You know, Azure is our public cloud platform that is integrated with the on-premise for some hybrid interfaces. So that means that you are allowed to have a grant up to $60,000 per year, and you can have the program extending for more than 1 year. So I would say that you can access machine learning, you can access IoT app and all the components that probably are.
Machine learning?
Yeah, absolutely, everything. Everything. It's, I mean, this is one of the most important investment that Microsoft does to empower the ecosystem. Because as a platform company, we rely on the ecosystem of partners and of startups. That fundamentally, we think that startups represent the creative way to have to traditional companies, enterprises, the ones that have this gap in terms of digital transformation, to accelerate. Because the creativity of startups, we can see many of them in our programs in the Grow It Up Hyper Accelerator that Microsoft Italy created with Fondazione Clariplo. They are so able that they can also redefine the verticals. For example, when you was mentioned, for example, enterprises company, manufacturing company, that today became a software company. There is, for example, Famiccanica in Italy. It's a manufacturing company. She's starting to resell the algorithm, predictive algorithm, and some relevant information that they gather from their own machines. And this is one of the ways to do. So the answer is, yeah, Camozzi also is doing things like that. There are many examples in Italy, and they represent the typical medium-sized, small-sized company Cimbali, you know Cimbali, the ones from the machine, the coffee machine?
You can speak about Rancibali because
Rancibali, yeah.
I work on
But
Rancibali.
it's your task later.
Yeah.
But I don't speak about the customer, only
Yeah, but anyway, the answer is yes, we provide Azure for free for startups.
for
many
example,
years.
for the
Big applause for the gift. Good idea to have our kick-off nearby Christmas because we collect something.
Yeah.
Cynthia, McKinsey gift? Come on, you can't read the second.
Of course, I would
Christmas
say, as a Lean Experience Factory, so one of our company, we are in a way a platform because there is a real process for, you have been yesterday, so you know better than me, and so whenever you would like also to test and try as a startup any of the technology or ideas, that's a place where also try to
But
test.
suppose my friend from Ljubljana wants to visit the factory and to bring customers whatsoever. Is a Christmas gift?
Yes, I would say we are open, and so we can
It's a
absolutely
recording.
have company visiting and games.
Cisco, empty box, you place all over, right?
I would say that we have a program called Digitaliani.
It's a kind of auction now. Who offers us?
It's about more than 100 million, but sorry, not all for BIFOCAlps, sorry. But of course, so we are investing in a startup. We just completed 5 million investment on Invitalia. So definitely, yes, there is the opportunity to work with you where we see the value represented by real digital transformation in several segments. One of these is Industry 4.0, so I understood that is a focus for you. But we are investing also in safety for food, agri-food. It is quite important for Italy, I think also for this region. And we are investing in all other country assets like ultra broadband and so on. So yes, at the end we can work together, improving technology you are using.
I have a concrete proposal. You have the academy. We will provide in our working package training and whatsoever.
Cisco Networking Academy. Yes, why not?
We can explore.
Absolutely, yes. It's a part of the investment we are doing.
Because even if the training in the academy is something that will be welcome from our point of view, because all kind of private, also in kind support is welcome to the project. Pretty much correct. This is a note, and thank you for the gift.
Yeah, and we have also, thank you for the suggestion, Antonio. We have also a program called DevNet. It is a DevNet. It is an open platform, no, for developers. So you can go on internet, check it, and you can start developing your app based on Cisco APIs and so on.
You gained the quick lunch later. Thank you very much. Max? But he has to link. Because, thank you to everybody. You can now follow another presentation.